This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out, here today with Gareth A Davies over Zoom. Gareth, another weekly instalment of our talk show now. I'm going to brand it. How is everything? You all good?
I'm good, but I'm not happy about you saying my hair looks like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards this morning.
When did I
Like,
ever say that?
there's no need for it. You're telling me about your long journeys from Portman Roads, the 7 hours it took you to get home, and you're telling me that I look like I've just got out of bed. It's an absolute disgrace.
Never said any of that about your hair, but we'll keep running with it. You mentioned Portman Road yesterday. I feel we'll start with that. We've seen the announcement now, Fabio Wardley versus Jarrell Miller, a brilliant fight at the top of the heavyweight division, and a real big step up from the level that Fabio Wardley has been at previously. What do you make of the fight? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a really good fight for Fabio Wardley in terms of the opponent. Much more favourable than Kubrat Pulev, because we'd have all groaned a little bit and expected Pulev to put up some resistance for 4 or 5 rounds and then Fabio to take over. This is a genuine test, and given that we've seen that Jarrell Miller is not Fabio's best friend, he's not doing the best friend stuff. He's given him a load of shit in the first instance, and I like it. It was pally pally, face to face, nose to nose on Saturday night up in Manchester for Heavy Impact in the ring. And then yesterday, Jarrell does what Jarrell does best, is kick off. And he kicked off, he played the villain, he got everybody excited, he ignited the fire and the flames between them. He made the security guys go to work, which is what they should have to do when he's around, because he's the biggest of all of them. He's a huge human being. He made Fabio look medium-sized, and now Fabio knows he's got a fight on his hands rather. It's a really good fight for Fabio because he can prove and benchmark what others have done against Jarrell Miller. Look, Jarrell Miller's never going to be a world champion in my view, but he always puts up great opposition. I thought he beat Andy Ruiz in Los Angeles last summer. He was the pivotal figure in the turnaround of Daniel Dubois' career when they fought in Riyadh at the Riyadh season event. And I really like the fight. Portman Road, he's playing the villain, the Norwich shirt, all of those kind of things. I hope they get a big crowd in there, and I think they will. It's a really good fight for Fabio to show that if he can get victory over Jarrell Miller, he's in the top 10 of the division.
Absolutely. A lot has been made of Jarrell Miller as the chosen opponent, and some strong views of people saying that he doesn't deserve an opportunity to fight for a WBA interim heavyweight world title, given his past and the failed drug tests. Adam Catterall and Spencer Oliver were very strong on it on TalkSport, saying that he should be banned and not fighting at this level. Can you understand people's frustrations and people's views as to why he should maybe not be given these opportunities?
The reason he's been given these opportunities, he's done the crime and he's paid the time. He's done the crime and he's done the time. So you can't take that away from him that he was banned for a period of time. You can't condone anything he's done. I've known him a very long time, all the way back to his glory kickboxing days when he fought Mirko Krokop over a decade ago. I was there in Inglewood, California to cover that. It was a big event. He's a huge character. He's obviously strayed into the wrong areas and the wrong directions. It's extraordinary when you're that big as a human being that you feel like you need to cheat. But something wasn't right in him at the time. I understand people's reservations about him being involved. He has taken the most heinous of drugs. I don't know the entire background to it in terms of what led him there. You've got to have a little tick in the box saying you have reservations about it, and I agree with them. But he's back. The rules are as such that you serve your time if you're caught with something. We have to remind ourselves that it's an inherently dangerous sport. So I understand some people saying that given what he's taken, like EPO, things that you knowingly have to put into your system, then I do understand their reservations about him fighting. But we can't stop him doing that. He's got a license. And I think because he's one of very few amazing characters in the sport, it gives him leeway to be involved. So it's I do understand people's reservations. I do understand that, but Fabio Wardley could have said, "I'm not fighting him because he's tested positive for things he's not." He said, "That's the name I want. I've chosen him. He's the guy that I can prove myself against." In a way, it's made him the villain of the division. And we what we have to be careful is not is to critique enough for people to know that it's wrong with what he's done.
How do you see the fight playing out when it rolls around on June 7th?
I haven't put my thinking. I think I see Fabio as favourite. I think he's got such a lot of dog in him that he'll come through it, but it won't be without a real tussle. You know, took 10 rounds, particularly rounds 7 to 10, for Daniel Dubois to literally to hit the giant sofa of a man with everything for 4 rounds to stop him in the 10th round. And still, Jarrell did not want to be stopped in there. He's a very, very tough individual from Brooklyn. But I just think Fabio has got that dangerous power that he can work his way into a fighter. It's going to be an incredible fight. There are risks here for Fabio, in my view, as well. But I think he'll get off first. And I think it's a 12-round fight. He could win by points or late stoppage.
Fair enough. Moving
But he
away.
could lose it as well, by the way.
That's it. I think this is a really, really tough fight. I think,
Yeah,
especially, I was literally just saying this to my mum downstairs. When you look at
as
the
you
level,
do.
mum's a big boxing fan, so I like
I've heard.
to. So the way I see it is, there's such a
Is she
big.
a Gads fan, though, as well? Is she a fan of our weekly interviews?
Yes, she is. She is a very big fan. She always enjoys watching our talk show here. But no, looking at the fight, the way I've said it to people is, you've got Fabio's career so far, and the Fraser Clark fights being the highlights of his career. Going from Fraser Clark, and this isn't in no disrespectful way, to Jarrell Miller, it is a massive step. There's so many names in that middle between them that I could think of for him to go and fight, and that's why I really do like the fight, because there's a sense of unknown about it. But I still think Fabio should come out on top on the night. But I don't see him stopping him, to be honest. I think it
I
goes
think it's
points.
because you don't have a long and large resume of amateur fights behind Fabio,
Mm.
because obviously he was in white collar and he came in with whatever it was, 3 amateur fights or something. He hasn't had a resume in that sense. So the jury's still out in how far he can go. I mean, as I said, he's got dog in him. We know that. Those two Fraser Clark fights showed that. He's got massive power. He showed he can, at British level, he's got it against against David Adeleye. That was a brilliant performance as well. I didn't see him as favourite in that one either, because I saw him as raw. But I think he's showing more and more. He's got to carry this event because it's his hometown, his homecoming. It'll be a massive crowd in there, 25, 30, maybe even 35,000 people coming for him, representing the region. But I do think there's something about Fabio, about his confidence, that carries him so much. Yeah, look, I see him winning it, but if he's not really on his game, he can end up on the wrong end of a performance, because Jarrell Miller does not quit. That's the thing about him, and I think he beat Andy Ruiz last summer. I thought he was very unfortunate not to get the decision. It was touch and go with Daniel Dubois for the first 5, 6 rounds of their fight. So it's great. It's a great event. It's great for Fabio, and he's a massive name in the division. I can't see who else would have given him such resonance, as you say, in this contest on June the 7th, June the 8th, June the 7th.
June 7th. Yes. Looking at some of the other big talking points, we saw some breaking news last night that Dmitry Bivol has vacated his WBC light heavyweight world title. I believe I read something from Maurizio Suleiman this morning that he's upgraded David Benavidez to WBC world champion as well, indicating that it is going to be a third fight with Beterbiev coming up again. And Dan Rafael reported in October. Do you think that's the right move from Bivol? Are you more interested in a trilogy with Beterbiev, or would you have rather seen Bivol versus Benavidez.
That Dan Raphael reported in October.
No, so a trilogy to take place in October.
Oh, in October. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, yeah, I think it's a long wait. It's probably a rightful long wait for that. I do rather see the trilogy than Benavidez and Bivol, if I'm honest. It was a rather nose out of joint tweet from Mauricio Suleiman about that as well, wasn't it? He was very unhappy about it that Patrick, the lawyer for Bivol, had removed him from that negotiation. It's the championship of each other now. We don't need the belts on the line anyway, frankly. It's the third fight between them. 24 high level, elite level rounds. It's time to do that first. I think if we'd got Benavidez in the interim, we may have not seen the trilogy, in my view, because Beterbiev's getting older. And I've always advocated a trilogy between these two, particularly if Bivol won the second fight. And I cannot wait for it. And if it is October, then that's brilliant. I thought it would have been sooner than that. We just don't know the venue yet. Presumably, it'll be Riyadh because it looks like Turki Al Sheikh has got his way. And I'm pleased for him. And I'm pleased for the guys. Trilogy fight, love it.
Do you feel from the trilogy we could see the winner of the third fight go on to face Benavidez and replicating another big undisputed fight? Do you feel that's the move they should make instead?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know that guys get moved up to be champion. I think the belts should be vacant, frankly, and it should be. I've got Callum Smith. If you have Bivol as one in division at the moment, Beterbiev as two, Benavidez as three, I think Callum Smith hopefully will get the shot against Benavidez now. It's a terrific fight. Terrific fight matchup. That is both very tall light heavyweights. Callum Smith slightly taller, of course, coming off a brilliant performance against Joshua Buatsi. I hope he gets the nod.
Do you reckon we could see them maybe on the same card in
Yeah,
October?
absolutely, absolutely on the same card. As long as the ties and relationships are there with the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman and Turki Al Sheikh, and obviously that tournament. The
Grand
tournament,
Prix.
the Grand Prix is about to get underway in Saudi Arabia very soon. So, and I understand they're all based on a military camp, and they'll be having the tournaments there, and it sounds fascinating.
Does sound very interesting. Looking at some of the action from over the weekend, I know you were over in the States covering bare knuckle, but I'm sure you would have seen Joe
I
Joyce
watched all of it. I watched
watched it
all of
all.
it. Yeah.
Joe Joyce defeated for the fourth time now in five fights. We know going into this fight with obviously originally Dillian White, then Hrgovic, a lot of the talk was this really is a must win now for Joe Joyce, and he's not been able to get that win. A lot of talk has again after most of his recent fights are saying people want to see him retire now. Frank Warren, I spoke to him yesterday. He said he wants to wait until it's settled down a bit more and he'll have a private conversation with Joe. What would you like to see Joyce do next?
Well, the problem is, it was a really good performance by Joe, even though he lost clearly. Everything you wanted from him was there. Started fast, let his hands go, was never disheartened. Red rag to a bull when Hrgovic's eye was cut, I think in the second round. So he showed you everything you wanted from him. Unfortunately, against maybe number 6, number 7 in the world, Filip Hrgovic, he didn't beat him to the punch. He got hit too much. He got outpointed. I thought he lost by 2 rounds. I didn't have it as wide as some people had it. But it was always Hrgovic's fight, in my view. But Joe came on strong in the 8th, 9th and 10th and was still, really battling. No, he wasn't back against the wall stuff. He was forcing the fight. And Hrgovic obviously didn't want the heads close together because he was concerned about the cut. So he's fighting off the ropes. Having said all that, Joe was getting caught too much. It is his 4th loss out of 5 fights. The Chisora loss was very damaging. And the 2 losses to Zhile Zhang, particularly the second one, when he was horribly knocked out, signalled something to all of us that maybe his ascent had stopped. And that's been proven. Even against Cash Ali, he didn't look amazing. As I say, you can't take anything away from the effort Joe put into this fight, and it was a good performance in lots of senses. I would love to see him call it a day, but I fear he won't because he loves it and he's addicted to it. And he'll look at that performance and say, do you know what? I wasn't that far away. And this guy's number 6 in the world, arguably. I've still got the rematch with Daniel Dubois I can have. Parker might want to fight me again. But I do fear that he may become, I don't mean this in, I say stepping stone, but he could become a marker, a yardstick for the likes of Moses Taumer and Fabio Wardley and others. And that's the danger for him. But I do think he'll have probably 3 or 4 more fights.
It's really interesting that you made that point. Again, looking at when I spoke to Frank yesterday, he said if Joe is to come back, he's going to have to be ready to have those young up and coming fighters coming for him instead. So, is that really what we want to see Joe Joyce? Especially when I know he's only had a 20-fight pro career, but he's given us some brilliant nights, some brilliant entertaining fights, and we don't really want to see someone like that who's already given us so much. We don't want to see them go down that path, do we?
Well, you can say that. I mean, you can say we, but it's up to him. It's
Mm.
all about him and what he decides to do. It's his body, it's his brain, it's his life, it's his career. And the problem is he always offers enough, or he did on Saturday night. He offered enough to say, you know, he could hurt Moses Taumer. He could hurt Fabio Wardley. He could get a victory. He could get the big payday with in a rematch with Daniel Dubois. He could get a victory and then get a title shot. He's going to be looking at the fact he feels fine right now. In all his interviews, he even mentioned CTE and said everyone's saying this about me and that about me, but I'm still here. He didn't give any indication in his post-fight interviews that he has any desire at all, Josh, to give up the ghost and walk away from the sport, saddle up and sling his hook. He doesn't want to. And also the problem is those around him, very close to him, they'll have seen enough on Saturday night. There was enough good and enough bad in that fight to go either way. I'd like him to stop so he doesn't get damaged, yes, but I fear he won't.
Another big talking point from the undercard, David Adeleye versus Jeamie TKV, a fight where a lot of people had Jeamie TKV winning. A display of poor refereeing. We saw that in the fight before as well with Jack Rafferty and Corey O'Regan. Referee shouted break. Adelaide's throwing a hook. It's landed, he's gone down, and the count's been given. A lot of mixed response again. I've seen Adam Booth and Ben Davison go back and forth in the latest installment of Boxing Twitter beef. What are your thoughts on this matter?
Well, it's a catastrophic refereeing error. But it was a very weird. It was a weird dance for certainly for 3 rounds, where when they got in the clinch, they were kind of doing weird bits of work and not really. Given the build up, we were expecting fists to fly, weren't we? You know, and there to be genuine venom in there. It was a very slow start. TKV won the first 3 rounds for me, but I really thought David Adeleye was starting to come in to his own and dominating in my view, and I thought he was going to get a knockout. I did see a knockout coming, but I thought it was poor refereeing by Ron Kearney in the act in the end, and I thought he didn't separate them enough early on. He didn't physically impose himself. I know they're 2 very big men, but I felt like he wasn't separating them or dividing them enough when he was stepping between them either. He really needed to move them back. They were almost in range when he moved them back during the fight. It was a very weirdly postured contest. Technically, could have been a disqualification. Technically, it should probably be declared a no contest. I'd like to see them fight again. Whether they take the belt away and declare the belt vacant again is up to the stewards. They're meeting tomorrow. So we shall find out. They're very unpredictable, the Boxing Board of Control. I did speak to Robert Smith because I watched all of it from Myrtle Beach, where you say, as I was covering the bare knuckle boxing 39, where Jack Marshman the Welshman, the UFC former UFC fighter, was fighting Cub Hawkins for the cruiserweight title. That was Friday night, so I watched the whole thing on Saturday from a nice little beachfront bar on Myrtle Beach on DAZN. Watched all my colleagues on there. Look, I personally, I think the board should order a rematch, and maybe it goes on the undercard of Portman Road. That would be a great place to have it. I think that would be justice for what happened. And like you say, the trainers are going back and forth on Twitter. They each have their own reasons. They each have their own biases. I still feel that Adeleye was going to win the bout. But the way it was refereed was not to the letter of the law. And I think Ron Kearney got it wrong.
So we know there's the meeting tomorrow. Do you feel it should be a no contest or just order that immediate rematch? So while there's still the loss on the record, Jeamie TKV gets to go straight back in and go and have another go for it.
Well, if you're going over it and you're looking at it, technically, the referee touched TKV's arm. He called break twice. Adelaye's hit him with the left hook, hasn't he, on this side? Referee's kind of moving around them, but on the other side. Technically, it should be a disqualification. He's hit him after it was called the break. So we saw it with Donovan and Crocker recently, didn't we? Where Donovan was about to stop Crocker, it looked like, and he hit him after the bell, and he was disqualified by Marcus McDonnell. There are rules in place to protect the fighters. Yes, protect yourself at all times, but if you've heard break, your hands can go down because you're waiting to be separated by the referee and come back together again. There were a couple of instances, or I certainly saw one on replay, where Jeamie did the same to David earlier in the fight. But obviously it wasn't a fight-ending punch or a catastrophic punch. I think it should be declared. I personally think that it should be called a no contest and the belt should be vacant again. And then let's just do the fight again. I'd see David Adeleye has come out and said, let's do the rematch. But I imagine they'll just do a rematch. I think that's what will happen.
Just lastly, I just think you mentioned watching the whole card. I think we need to give a big shout out to Khalil Majid and Alex Murphy, who opened the show. A brilliant, brilliant 10-round affair there. Two fighters who don't have any TV deals, but they showed that they've got a proper set of balls on them and gave us a really, really good fight, didn't they?
They did, but what I think is brilliant about it is this is the first Queensberry card on DAZN. It's been really built up and celebrated. A big 3 days for DAZN and Frank Warren, given that they had the big card, Heavy Impact in Manchester. People want to deliver. They know they're on a new platform, so it doesn't surprise me that these guys gave everything in there. By the way, as well, while we're on it, Jack Rafferty seemed to hit O'Regan on a break call, and that's what began the capitulation of O'Regan in that fight. So, the board have got a few things to look at, but overall, it was an interesting event, and we've had 3 fantastic days with build-ups as well. Given we've got Jarrell Miller and Fabio Wardley. All we need now is to know what's happening with Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker, Alexander Usyk, and Ajit Kabayel.
I think that's a good place to leave it. Gareth, thank you very much for your time as always. Always good to catch up, and I'll speak to you again probably this time next week.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure, Josh.